Many supporters and members of the media have questioned Mauricio Pochettino throughout his first season as coach of the United States men's national team. Brad Friedel, no. I am aware of his excellence. I am aware that his employees are. Mauricio is one of the smartest managers and leaders in global football, not just in CONCACAF, in global football, the former USA goalkeeper told the reporter in an exclusive interview, acknowledging that many people have questioned his actions thus far. He's from Argentina. He has it in his blood. He's a warrior, he's a fighter, he added afterwards. He played. By the way, he's a really good guy. However, he will put in place structures. Friedel, who earned 82 caps for the USMNT as a goalie, still occasionally speaks with his old Spurs manager. However, he doesn't think the former Chelsea, PSG, Southampton, and Espanyol coach needs his counsel. We talk about life when I'm around him or his staff members who I know very well, he said. We discuss dining establishments, vacation spots, possibly a trip to Tottenham, and other such topics. We don't, and I deliberately avoid inquiring about the players. Pochettino, who has undoubtedly heard the chorus of criticism during his first year in charge, would appreciate the discussion. Uneven results at the Gold Cup, dismal friendly losses to South Korea, Switzerland, and Turkey, and a lack of consistency in his squads, not all of which are his fault, have all occurred. Christian Pulisic has rejoined the two most recent squads after missing the Gold Cup, but regular starters Weston McKennie and Anthony Robinson were left off the roster in September due to injury. They returned in October, but Tyler Adams stayed back because of the birth of his second child. Gio Reyna, Johnny Cardoso, Ricardo Pepi, and Yunus Musa are still not included, but Pochettino's October squad is far more European in origin than the MLS-heavy teams he chose in the summer. There is a feeling that Pochettino is still getting his bearings less than a year before the competition. However, a 2-0 victory over Japan in the team's most recent game was a positive indication for the Argentine group. Friedel also doesn't worry about some initial turmoil under the manager. During the summer, he took a break from his coverage of the Club World Cup on DAZN to say, if there are some bumps along the way, it's normal. Some players will want to fight against change. When you make changes, some players will, after initially fighting, change their ways. Other players will automatically try every request you make. If he can just determine which of those players will be able to comply with his requests, they will succeed. I am confident that the United States squad will do admirably at the 2026 World Cup. Your talent then emerges once you reach a certain stage of the competition. Do we possess the skills necessary to win a World Cup? Not in my opinion. We must be truthful about it. It may be that Pochettino, who is still being connected to top-flight positions, won't help the national team succeed immediately. It's unclear if he will continue after this World Cup. With a friendly match against Ecuador and Australia coming up this window, Friedel does believe his former coach can bring about a significant cultural change in U.S. soccer. We in the United States need to find a way to support our players' mindsets, particularly those in Major League Soccer. The tradition of promotion and relegation, which the sport brings to other regions of the world, including Brazil, Argentina, and much of Europe, is lost when there is no promotion or relegation. So I think that Mauricio was included more to help with the U.S. players' mindset. Does that mean that we will advance past the quarterfinals? Most likely not. But does that mean that this slight change in perspective would be beneficial in 10 years? Yes, it works similarly to a building block. And there will undoubtedly be those people who believe that since we've been doing this for so long, we should be competing with the rest of the world. We have a lot of money. Soccer doesn't work that way, and MLS doesn't provide the funding necessary to develop the younger players. The 54-year-old Friedel fully understands the changing soccer scene in the United States. He fought his way through Europe and eventually the Premier League after playing collegiately at UCLA because there was no MLS when he was rising through the ranks. In order to win games, we had to compete for everything in the locker room and on the training field. You develop a different type of resilience because it was difficult. That does not mean, however, that Friedel lacks empathy for the players of today. Even the former player's father has gotten involved, and celebrities like Tim Weah and Pulisic have responded to criticism from older former players. Friedel acknowledges that the younger generation may be softer, but there's a good reason for this. We played at a time before social media, so we had it much easier than the players do now, he remarked. I understand why the mindset is a little bit softer. Fans in the stadium would be aware of my mistakes if I did them during a Saturday game when I was playing. It would air on Match of the Day in the evening, and the next day it would repeat on Sky Sports News in a 30-minute loop every 30 minutes. Then it disappears on Monday. You just have to avoid watching TV on Sunday. You have to avoid picking up the newspapers on Sunday morning. Then you go back to your life on Monday. After that, you deal with your mistake immediately with your coaching staff and teammates. These players now have to deal with additional pressure at a younger age, which is far more difficult than any player in my generation or era ever had to deal with due to media attention. So I think that people need to consider the reasons why players may be perceived as being a little bit softer these days, emotionally. However, I will admit that many of the players I had on the national team during my tenure would not have been able to handle the criticism that comes with social media. However, Friedel's prospects are not entirely dark. He has no doubt in my mind that the United States will put on some strong performances next summer, and feels that this group is technically superior to his teammates from the 1994, 1998, and 2002 World Cups. He does, however, have some advice for Pochettino's younger players who will join the team in the summer. The tunnel vision that Friedel had during the 1992 Olympics, when he didn't see a single event in Barcelona, is still fresh 21 years after his last USA appearance. Regarding the World Cup, he said, "This will be here and gone in a flash. So while you're there, try to learn as much as you can, so you're better off the next time you visit."